Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob today outlined several initiatives to be implemented by the government to further strengthen the use of Bahasa Malaysia in the country and elevate the position of the national language at the international stage. He said, to his knowledge, there are no restrictions imposed against cabinet ministers from using Bahasa Malaysia when attending events abroad. Therefore, he said he had instructed all cabinet members to use Bahasa Malaysia when attending conferences or bilateral meetings abroad.
Sebagai langkah awal dalam memertabatkan bahasa Melayu, saya sendiri telah menggunakan bahasa Melayu semasa lawatan rasmi saya ke Republik Indonesia yang sememangnya menggunakan bahasa Melayu, ke Brunei Darussalam, ke Kamboja, ke Thailand dan 2 hari lepas menggunakan bahasa Melayu sepenuhnya sewaktu lawatan ke Vietnam. Kita tidak perlu merasa malu ataupun kekok untuk menggunakan bahasa Melayu di peringkat antarabangsa.
Speaking in Dewan Negara today, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said ministers, however, must inform early and make the necessary arrangements with a mission office or the embassy at the respective countries which they will be visiting prior to the trip. This is to enable the embassy to inform the organizer of the event and make the necessary arrangements such as preparing translators. He said this in his reply to Senator Datuk Issa Abdul Hamid in Dewan Negara in Parliament today. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said the government will provide an insurance protection plan for poor households who have lost their source of income due to the death of the head of the household with an allocation of 13.4 million ringgit a year. According to the Prime Minister, it would involve about 268,000 poor families registered in Kasih. He said each household will receive 10,000 ringgit with an allocation of 13.4 million ringgit a year.
17 Disember 2021 telah memperakukan keputusan MySPC supaya dijadikan rujukan tunggal bagi maklumat perlindungan sosial di Malaysia yang mengandungi profil penerima manfaat serta program-program perlindungan sosial yang merangkumi bantuan sosial, intervensi pasaran buruh dan insurans sosial. Selain itu, ia juga dapat membantu perancangan dan gerak kerja yang lebih teratur bagi menggubal polisi serta merangka program yang lebih tepat dan berkesan kepada rakyat.
He said this after chairing the Malaysia Social Protection Council (MySPC) meeting at the Parliament building today. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said the meeting also agreed that the socio-economic level of Malaysian family be increased by giving added value and focusing on the programs to increase the income of the heads of the households of the poor and hardcore poor registered in Kasih. He said the other thing that was agreed upon was to strengthen the social protection agenda up to the administrative district level through the State Social Protection Technical Committee to coordinate the program mapping and social protection profile Phase 2. The motion to extend the enforcement of subsection 4, subsection 5 of the Security Offences Special Measures Act 2012 SOSMA for another 5 years was not approved by the Dewan Rakyat today. The motion tabled by Home Minister Datuk Seri Hamzah Zainuddin was not passed in a block vote which saw 84 members of Parliament MPs agreeing and 86 disagreeing. When announcing the vote outcome, Dewan Rakyat Speaker Tan Sri Azhar Azizan Harun said 50 MPs were absent during voting. Earlier, when winding up the debate on the motion, Datuk Sri Hamzah said enforcement of subsection 4, subsection 5 of the Act needed to be extended and the 28-day detention period maintained to give police sufficient time to complete their investigations into difficult and complex cases of security offences. He said without this subsection being extended, it is feared that the quality of police investigation would be affected. It has to be done hastily, that is only 24 hours to conduct investigation, prepare and complete investigation papers and submit them to the Deputy Public Prosecutor for further instruction. The health ministers of Malaysia and Singapore have agreed to work on resuming travel completely between the two countries, considering the pandemic situation has stabilised, according to Health Minister Khairy Jamaluddin. Both ministers agreed they can immediately work on enabling full resumption of air and land travel for fully vaccinated people. Malaysia is set to reopen its borders to fully vaccinated travellers from 1st of April after 2 years of restrictions to contain COVID, which is now shifting towards the endemic phase of the outbreak. Malaysia and Singapore had allowed visits between the two nations in November by air and land on a limited quota basis. Air travel initially started with flights between Singapore and Kuala Lumpur, while services to Pulau Pinang were added last week. Singapore was Malaysia's biggest source of visitors in 2019, with some 10 million arrivals, according to the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture Malaysia. That number fell to 1.5 million in 2020, primarily made up of visitors in the first few months of the year before lockdowns. Singaporean tourists also bring in the most money for Malaysia, spending about 20.5 billion ringgit. Khairy met with his Singaporean counterpart Ong Ye Kung earlier Wednesday at the Health Ministry to discuss details for the border reopening. Ong is on a third-day working visit to Malaysia. A total of 13,225 new teachers hired under the special one-off recruitment exercise have reported or accepted their respective placements so far. Senior Education Minister Dr. Razzie Jidin said 307 of them reported for duty on 1st December last year, 8,120 on 1st March, while another 4,828 teachers will begin duties on 4th April.
Hampir 14,000 daripada 18,702 yang dah selesai hampir 14,000 dan yang batch berikutnya akan ditempatkan pada awal April. Yang kohort yang 4,000 yang terbaru ni daripada 14,000 ni akan ditempatkan pada awal bulan April. Keputusan penempatan dah keluar.
He said this to reporters after attending a Yayasan Didik Negara YDN and Yayasan Aeon Student Digital Device Program at Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Kelibang in Langkawi today. In July last year, Datuk Razzie announced that the ministry would make a special one-off intake of 18,702 teachers to address shortage problems in several states including Sabah, Sarawak, Selangor and Johor. Pedals have started rolling to break the Malaysia Book of Records for longest non-stop sprint bike relay at Hidayatul Islam Association on Jalan Kedah in Georgetown, Pulau Pinang. A total of 25 members under the Central Muslim Society will take turns to ride continuously for 100 hours in an attempt to make it into the national record, which will be announced this Sunday. Event organising chairman Dastagir Muhammad Yassin said each participant will ride for at least 1 hour before relaying to another. The team of cyclists are aged between 13 to 15 years old, with 15 men and 10 women to ensure equal participation of all. 2 bicycles are used to ensure no pause during the relay.
Permulaan 23 Mac, kami ingin menyipta satu rekod selama 100 jam. Iaitu selama 5 hari bermula pada 23 Mac dan akan berakhir 27 pukul 6 petang.
He added each rider will need to maintain a speed of at least 20 kilometers per hour to be eligible for the record feat. Das Sagir said this after launching the event today. He said the participants have prepared for 2 years before deciding to attempt the record breaking. Among those who participated was 13-year-old Ahmad Irfan Ali, who is the youngest, and 50-year-old Ahmad Bashir Sahul Hamid, who is the oldest. Coming up, security guard charged with murdering woman. Five Chinese nationals are among the 7 suspects detained in a police raid on an online scam call center in Mont Kiara in the nation's capital. Brickfield's District Police Chief ACP Amihizam Abdul Shukur said the call center was based in a condominium unit in Mont Kiara and was raided on Monday. 3 men and 2 women from China were detained along with 2 local men aged between 19 and 25. Various items were seized, including 7 laptops, 28 mobile phones, 7 keyboards, and a set of keys from the premises. When contacted by the media, ACP Amihizam said initial investigations found that the scammers targeted victims from China using the WeChat application. He said each syndicate member was paid between 2,000 ringgit and 3,000 ringgit monthly. They have been operating since last month and posed as customer service officers. He advised the public not to be fooled by dubious online job offers or investment opportunities that promised high returns in a short time. Compound notices totaling 45,000 ringgit were issued to patrons and owners of premises following raids on 2 entertainment outlets in the city. Kuala Lumpur Crime Prevention and Community Safety Department JPJKK Chief SAC Dato' Azman Ayub said 43 patrons and 2 nightclub owners were each issued with 1,000 ringgit compound notices during the raid on Tuesday. He said the compound notices were issued for breaches of COVID-19 standard operating procedures by taking part in activities at entertainment outlets. In a statement today, Dato' Azman advised the public to comply with COVID-19 SOP and assist in bringing down the number of infections. He said those with information on SOP infringements, especially involving entertainment outlets, can contact the police by the Volunteer Smartphone Patrol VSP, which can be downloaded on your mobile phone. He added the authorities appreciate public cooperation on the matter. A security guard was charged at the Kuala Lumpur Magistrates Court today with murdering a woman in a secondary school in Cheras. Muhammad Yusri Latif, 35, nodded when the charge was read out to him before Magistrate Wong Chai Sia. However, no plea was recorded as murder cases come under the jurisdiction of the High Court. He is accused of murdering Fong Su K, 25, in a living skills workshop of Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Sri Mulia at Taman Mulia Cheras between 1:45 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. on 12 March. The charge under Section 302 of the Penal Code carries the mandatory death penalty on conviction. Deputy Public Prosecutor Pulrani Kau prosecuted while the accused was unrepresented. The court set 25th May for mention pending for post-mortem report. On 12 March, the media reported that the charred remains of a woman who worked as a bookstore supervisor were found in the living skill workshop of a secondary school in Bandar Tun Razak. National Sportsman Award ASN 2019-2020 winner Datuk Muhammad Azizul Hasni Awang plans to end his glorious era as a track cyclist after the 2024 Paris Olympics. The silver and bronze medalist of the current event respectively in the last 2 editions of the Olympics intends to retire after competing in Paris, which will be his 5th appearance in the most prestigious multi-sports event.
Saya kini sedang giat menjalani latihan persiapan untuk Sukan Commonwealth Birmingham yang hanya berbaki selama 128 hari lagi dan juga Sukan Asia Hangzhou yang berbaki 120 72 hari lagi. Perancangan saya adalah untuk bersara selepas tamasya Sukan Olimpik Paris 2024.
The 2022 Commonwealth Games will take place in Birmingham, England this July, while the ASEAN Games in Hangzhou, China is scheduled for September. Meanwhile, Datuk Muhammad Azizul Hasni expressed his gratitude to all parties, including the National Sports Council, National Sports Institute, Olympic Council of Malaysia, Malaysian National Cycling Federation, and the Terengganu State Sports Council for being selected as the Sportsman of the Year for 2019-2020. It was the fourth time he won the award after also being named the winner in 2009, 2010 and 2017. Meanwhile, Youth and Sports Minister Datuk Seri Ahmad Faizal Azumu has expressed confidence that national cycling ace Datuk Muhammad Azizul Hasni can shine at the Commonwealth and Asian Games this year. The minister said he was also placing high hopes on all the athletes representing the country at the Hanoi SEA Games in May, Birmingham Commonwealth Games and Hangzhou Asian Games.
Saya yakin dengan kemampuan Datuk Azizul Hasni dan juga semua atlet-atlet kita yang sedang membuat persiapan dalam 3 acara besar, kejohanan besar yang akan mereka tandingi. Jadi saya nak yakin dengan kebolehan, kesungguhan yang ditunjukkan oleh Datuk Azizul Hasni dan juga para atlet kita, maka saya yakin apa juga keputusan yang mereka akan perolehi tentunya akan menyemarakkan semangat kita sebagai rakyat Malaysia dan berbangga dengan kesemua para atlet kita.
Datuk Seri Ahmad Faizal also said his ministry would continue to monitor the COVID-19 situation in Vietnam and refer to the Health Ministry for advice regarding the process of Malaysia's participation at the SEA Games. Although Vietnam is experiencing a surge in cases, he said Malaysia's participation in the Games from 12 until 23rd May is still on track, but with greater emphasis to be placed on the safety of athletes. That concludes this evening's news at 10. In our top story, government plans insurance scheme to protect the poor. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. I'm Shuhaida Arifin. Stay tuned to Berita RTM. Salam keluarga Malaysia and have a pleasant evening.